As a broke boy, I made a reasonable rule for myself. I will have a certain type of game that I will just watch someone else play instead of experiencing it myself. This is just to limit my spending habits, but still make it so that I get to experience a part of the game that I was still a bit interested in. So, the question is, how did I decide on what type of games to watch instead of play? Well, it was pretty simple. I basically picked a genre where watching it wasn't all too different from playing the game myself, and after careful deliberation, I landed on story-based horror games. Fears to Fathom, Chilla's Art, and Underground horror games were titles that I've never played myself but got to experience vicariously through content creators. This never bothered me, and it was actually a pretty fun experience. The spook factor didn't disappear, and it just felt like I was watching a horror movie. I could still feel the tension of getting chased. The atmosphere was still creeping up my spine, and the jump scares kinda speak for themselves. I've been doing this for years now and have yet to regret my decision, but you've read the title and know where this is all going. Mouthwashing came out of nowhere. It kind of just kept appearing in my YouTube recommended, and when I found out that it was another story-heavy horror game, I placed it quickly to my to-watch list. Now, fast forward to a couple of months later, I finally watched a miserable British dude play it for the first time. It was going great, I enjoyed it a lot, but 49 minutes later, I began to regret my decisions. This game is complicated. It's about 5 survivors of an unfortunate accident. We get to experience the story in a very non-linear way. Switching perspectives and timelines are the norm, and I absolutely love that. I really enjoy experiencing stories this way, since it makes me engage with the media a whole lot more than I usually do. It encouraged me to try to piece together a timeline with the existing information that I have. And while doing so, it also forces me to think of why the story was told in this specific way to begin with. The intense mystery of why the ship had to crash in the first place was always looming inside my head, and the characters helped in making me care about this narrative quite a lot too. These people are really flawed. 2 didn't really do anything wrong and were just victims at the end of the day, but these 3 were messy. And even without playing the game, I will say this. Curly is not innocent here, nor is he a good person. He isn't a good captain, and sure, he might not be as bad as Jimmy, but it's undeniable that he still played a big role in creating the problem in the first place. If he was a good captain, and even more a good person, then this whole situation could have been avoided. This was the tragedy that rooted the whole game for me and made me think a lot about it. Now, I just needed to push this out of the way because I saw some people calling this man a good person, and I just can't accept that. Now, this game doesn't have too much gameplay elements, and overall, it feels like a playable movie. It has a very short runtime, but has so much dense subtext that makes up for it. So in theory, this should have been the perfect game to just watch, but after completing Sea Dog's playthrough, I began thinking of what I would have felt playing the game instead. This has never happened before, at least with these horror games. Whenever I finish a Chilla's Art game or a Fears to Fathom story, I was always left with a feeling of, well, that was fun, and just proceeded with my day. I never had the urge to play this game ever again. I'm not putting down those games, by the way. I still really enjoy watching them. I just don't feel the same connection as I did with Mouthwashing. And at first, it was just a tinge bit annoying. It was always seeping into my head, you know, that regret of not experiencing it myself. It was actually very similar to getting spoiled on a show that I really wanted to watch. But a couple of days later, I started thinking more and more about the characters, the story, and all of the things that I never got to see. I started thinking if there was more to the game, and I simply missed a lot of it because I wasn't controlling Jimmy and Curly. Would I have noticed what Anya was trying to say to Curly during the nighttime scene? Would I have felt that Swanzo was a bit more villainous early on if Connor didn't voice him in a funny way? Would I have solved who crashed the ship at the very beginning midway through? I really should have just ignored the YouTube recommendations and played it myself. But could the thought of playing it even pop in my head if I never got to experience it in the first place? These coulda, woulda, shouldas started to pile up and led me to making this video. Until now, I still haven't played the game. I plan to once I can actually buy it, but even then, I probably would still be hesitant. I know that there is an experience that's wholly different from just watching it, but knowing what happens would probably hinder me from pressing that purchase button. The main reason why I picked this story-heavy horror genre to begin with was because story was a heavy factor in the experience and the gameplay just wasn't. So with the simple idea of just knowing what will happen, it'll probably make me hesitate when the time actually comes where I can buy the game. This whole experience even got me into thinking about reaction content of all things. I remember there was discord in the topic of whether Let's Plays and reaction content are on the same tier of sloppy content. The morally gray area of reaction content always takes views away from the original work and should be applicable to Let's Plays. Since in the case of Let's Plays, it's also detracting from people who would originally just purchase the game. But I think that this whole experience should have proven that that isn't entirely the case. The value of playing it is inherently different from just watching it. And although I watch Chilla's art games but never buy them, I was never really gonna buy them to begin with. So if these playthroughs didn't exist, not only would I have not bought a Chilla's art game, I wouldn't even know about them. But anyway, tangents aside, I will now be very careful in picking the games that I watch from now on, just to avoid repeating this annoying experience. That's all for me. If you liked the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing. Leave a comment to share your thoughts. Thanks for watching. See ya.